One. Welcome to Washington East to West Sports. This is episode 99. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Sean Beatty and Kevin Ardall. And we have a reoccurring guest back once again. It is JT underscore the ginger on Twitter. That's right. You can follow him at JT underscore the ginger. If you want to comment on our topics, go ahead and follow us on YouTube. Subscribe, smash that subscribe button. Don't smash it too hard to break your mouse or anything, but leave a comment, leave us a like, tell us what you think. And guys, it's your favorite season. It's baseball season. That's right. Baseball has officially begun, and we are going to go through some Mariners season preview and predictions. But first, we need to talk about some games that have already happened. So the Mariners have played 5 games already this season. They won the first one against the Cleveland Guardians, lost the next 3. Then they lost to the Los Angeles Angels yesterday, and they are currently playing, score check, 8-0 Mariners, top of the 7th inning.
Bottom of the seventh inning.
ESPN gets your stuff together,
Well,
but
it literally just ended. So
that's fair.
yeah.
That's fair. But we can already go to a live report from Sean Beatty, who attended Julio Bobblehead Day on Saturday and did not get a signed Julio Bobblehead. We can confirm that he did
Sorry.
not get a
Yeah.
signed Julio Bobblehead. But Sean, tell us about your Mariners experience.
It was super cold. Like it was the thank goodness for the new rules. The game was 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's also because only scoring was 2 solo home runs. But thank goodness for that because froze our butts off. But it was fun. Logan Gilbert did Logan Gilbert things. The bullpen did bullpen things, and I will um preview this kind of lead into like the overall of the first 3 games or for 4 games. Cleveland Guardians can pitch some baseballs, and they pitched some pretty good baseballs. Now the Mariners batters were helping them out a little bit, but Cleveland, as Kevin says, has also played to play baseball, and they can throw some baseballs pretty good. Turns out, so yeah, they pitched pretty well in 4 games. So it was rough to see, but the things that I expected from the Mariners, the pitching, the bullpen, was really good. And Julio was the only one that got really any hits other than a 8th inning double by Tommy Tommy LaStella. So that was it. But it was fun. It was fun. It was the amount of people was absolute insanity. So um I would say like 5,000 people left before the game even started if they just wanted bobbleheads. But no, it was the lines were absolutely insane. The lines were absolutely insane. So it was a good time.
Did you get any food? Did you garlic fries? Anything
Yes.
like that?
No, I'm not a garlic fry fan only because garlic fries are fine, but they put so much garlic on it that all it just sits at the bottom. So about halfway through, you're just eating garlic, and I'm just like, it's just too much garlic. If they did a little better job of like mixing it and ratioing it, it'd be a little better. But it's just too much garlic after a while. I always eat the top of the fries, and then I would just let the wife eat the rest of them, and she doesn't want to do that anymore. So I was like, no, she caught on. We had ice cream, churros, hot dog, yeah, a little bit of everything. Yeah,
No
kid like
grasshoppers?
no grasshoppers. I don't even know where they are anymore. But yeah, we no, we didn't do anything crazy. The kettle corn is the favorite of the other 2 that I'm with, so they went to town on that. So, but yeah,
Maybe grasshoppers aren't in season. I don't even know.
yeah,
Who
it's too
knows?
cold for grasshoppers
Yeah,
probably.
that's fair. That's
Hmm.
fair. JT, welcome. Tell us what you thought of the Mariners in these first 5 games and currently in the 6th right now.
Burn it. I'm ready for 2024. Let's
Yeah,
do it. Oh,
burn it
April
down.
Fools. Sorry. A little late. Um, I'm I'm just every day I'm like, cool, who's gonna be the DH quote unquote today? That's the only thing in this offseason I was really kind of frustrated by. It wasn't like very well bolstered. It's a lot of just random bottom of the barrel depth, in my opinion. So that's just, I don't know. I like to nitpick because our pitching staff is going to be great this year. It's too bad Robbie goes out with an injury early. Um, I feel like we're going to see maybe more of that just with the pitch clock and how many pitches these guys are pitching so often. But overall, I think the offense is going to be kind of slow to get going and find the rhythm. And I mean, the last 2 years, the Mariners have ended up pretty good, but their Aprils have been pretty poor, unfortunately. So it's kind of par for the course, and I wish it was different, but I'm still excited for the year overall, and I kind of want to see how Teoscar mingles in with this lineup. I think it's going to be one of the bigger bright spots other than Julio.
Mingling pretty good tonight.
Yeah.
Kevin, what have been your opening game thoughts so far on the Seattle Mariners?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the majority of Mariners fans have forgotten that the Cleveland Guardians were a postponed game away from going to the ALCS. I mean, had that game not been postponed, there's probably a good chance they make the ALCS over the Yankees. But apparently we just forget other teams besides ourselves. So it's like everybody needs to calm down. Cleveland Guardians are kind of a good team. And like I said, they pitched well, and we didn't even have to go against Tristan McKenzie, who probably would have whooped our butts too. Like we missed one of their top pitchers as well, and we still got creamed. So it's still very early. I mean, right now, like you said, everybody is like, oh, the bats are not good. We're up 8-0 against the Anaheim, right? God, I keep always say Anaheim. Against the Angels. I'm so used to them being Anaheim. So it's fine. Like, it's way too early in the season to be freaking out. What I've seen so far is Luis Castillo is good at baseball. It's very good at baseball. Yeah. I thought Logan Gilbert had a solid outing. I think Kirby could have been better. Yeah, sure, but I mean, it wasn't awful. So, I mean, I think he'll bounce back and have a better game next time around. And then, yeah, Robbie Ray. I think with Robbie Ray, could he be hurt? Sure, it could be a 15-day get your crap together. Just be like.
I will say that someone did bring up a point. He dropped 4 miles an hour from the first to the second inning, and so like that. I think I agree, Kevin. At first, I was like, "Oh, is he hurt?" But there was someone's like, "He lost 4 miles an hour in between an inning," and it was just like, "Oh,
yeah."
So there might really be something there.
Because the pants weren't that as tight. I saw JT point out on a tweet. The pants were not that tight. They need to be tighter. That helps support those legs.
It was a literal and figurative observation.
Yeah. No. Like, seriously, that helps support the glutes, the thigh, like everything. Nice and tight and compact. Just, So Robbie Ray, go back to what you had, the past couple of years. Get those tight pants on. If you need help, Jimmy Fallon or Will Ferrell or J-Lo can all help you out with tight pants. But all in all, yeah, Ty France, good at baseball. That Julio guy, good at baseball. Teoscar Hernandez had his welcome to Seattle moment tonight with 2 home runs, so that's nice to see. Cal Raleigh's been solid too. I would say that, it's been solid enough. But other than that, yeah. Well, it's too little of a sample size to really say anything, other than the fact that Luis Castillo is really, really good. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was able to watch most of the opener. So that was cool to see how many people came out to the opener. Another big thing, I played a game on MLB The Show 23, lost 4-2 to the San Diego Padres. So that was very disappointing. But I think the biggest moment, well, I guess not the biggest moment, the moment that stands out to me the most, that I've seen the most online, is this pitch from Matt Brash that everybody's been talking about. And just makes Jose Ramirez fall. Is that like an NBA equivalent of a crossover, just like sending someone to like breaking ankles? Is that what you would call it in baseball?
Worse. It's worse. It's like that guy's like an MVP, perennial MVP candidate too. That's not like some dude off the bench.
That's kind of like
a top 10 player in baseball.
Yeah, for Seahawks fans out there, that's kind of like when Marshawn Lynch made Ray Lewis like eat crap and juked him, and like made Ray Lewis like fall on his face. That's a pretty good equivalent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Matt Brash, very good. Also have been paying attention to my fantasy baseball team. And, while I don't like watching George Kirby get taken yard, it is nice when it's Shohei Ohtani, who's on my fantasy baseball team. So, not great for the actual
We
team, but
have a
great for
rule,
my
Matthew.
fantasy
We
team.
have a rule. Mariners
Yeah?
first, fantasy second.
Okay, well, the Mariners we're having trouble coming
No,
back.
it's fine. It's
So,
fine. You're like, hey, it could be my guy. AJ Pollock just went yard for the second time. Okay. Yeah, okay. But I'm just saying, like we always say, fantasy we go Mariners, then your fantasy boys. But yes, you can cheer for Shohei if for some reason, but don't do it, in front of other fans.
that is always my general rule, but
Some people,
sometimes it's conflicted when they're playing the team that you root for. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
I know,
Just
no, I get it.
cheer
Just quietly, be like,
okay, that's fair.
But
Well,
you need to show you're a little mad at least.
Okay. So let's talk about that opening day roster, and I have it right here. Of course, there have been a couple injuries already, but looking at this opening day roster, Kevin, what's the strengths and what's the weaknesses in your opinion?
I mean, strengths are kind of what they've always been, and that's pitching. We have depth too. I mean, with what's his face going down, I mean, Flexen will probably fit in there to go up and take the starts while Robbie Ray is out, which is fine because Flexen. You saw him last. If you forgot what Flexen did last year, then you're kind of not really a Mariners fan. Weaknesses are just kind of the bottom of the order and depth. I mean, I kind of wanted to make fun and say like of AJ Pollock being your DH, but I mean, you had 2 home runs tonight.
Maybe hold off for next week. Maybe.
Yeah,
now is not a good time.
I did see a funny tweet of someone mentioning that they were going to like walk into oncoming traffic if Tommy La Stella is still our DH at the end of May, something like that.
Bet.
It's not great. When no names are kind of your DH, but I mean, who knows? Maybe AJ Pollock might have a resurgence. I'd rather see like Trammell or some of the young guns kind of do something. Cooper Hummel kind of go off, but yeah, we'll see. We've been kind of hyping up what's this terrible JP Crawford now that he's back healthy because apparently he is back or something like that. I haven't really looked at his numbers, but they're like, oh, it's back to normal. I'm like, I don't know if it's back to normal quite yet, but I'll say like the middle 3 is, I mean, actually probably, to be fair, probably the 5. I haven't really looked at Kelton Wong's numbers, but first 5 in the rotation, solid. Eugenio's at least doing some things. He's doing his normal, like either he'll hit, get a hit or strike out. That's kind of what Eugenio does. So, yeah. So I rather see kind of like I said, hopefully one of the young guns will kind of step up, but who knows?
JT, what do you think of this roster?
I usually go strength to weakness. So what I see is a top of the line pitching staff. I think both starting pitching. I mean, when we're rolling into opening day, gotta get my opening day, hat on. But to have Marco and Flexen as kind of like your 5th and 6th was nice. So covering for Ray in his absence, but really good bullpen. A little bit of a committee situation for closing, and I think we're all a fan of Munoz and Seawald, and so in good hands there. And Matt Brash just obviously we saw it throwing absolute nasty stuff, not safe for work. Don't show your kids unless you're trying to teach them how to throw nasty stuff. Our infield, our defense, I feel like it might be okay. It's it's not great. It's not awful. I like Cal and Tom as our catchers, and we'll see what Hummel does. I think he plays a little bit of outfield, and I don't know if he'll catch much, but as far as like our hitting, I'll probably just keep harping on it. I wish we had done a little bit more to find a better DH situation. But we're going with depth and so I mean ultimately I'm good with it. But now that pitching depth is coming in handy, whereas before I would have said, hey, it'd be nice, in a fantasy world to trade Flexner or Marco for a legitimate MLB average hitter, because I don't think Pollock or Listella are that. I think they're platoon at best. So we'll see how it all plays out, but I'm feeling pretty positive about it.
Kevin, what happened? I saw your reaction.
Sorry, someone just sent me the what Castillo did today. Like someone did a it was a ground ball pretty much at the pitcher. He like turned it back and literally caught it like not even looking, like that. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm like, oh, sorry, it was sexy. Continue.
No worries. No worries. Sean, what do you think of this opening day roster? I'm going to throw this question to you first. Give me a player in the Mariners farm system that will be on the roster by the end of the year.
Okay. So it's largely, I don't want to harp on it too much, but largely the same thing that JT just said. Arms, good. Bats, top of it, good. Depth of it, bad. Kevin kind of summed it up. Julio, France, Suarez, and Raleigh have all been good. Teoscar is heating up. That's fine. He had first 3 games didn't get a hit, and he's been heating up the last 2. He'll be fine. I do think, at least, I'm not a huge fan of Pollock, but at least he's a major league bat, and he's probably slightly above average on the whole against lefties, mostly lefties and things like that. Fine, but I agree with JT. Probably could have upgraded. I did take offense, JT, you putting AJ Pollock and Tommy Stella in the same category, but Tommy is the one where, like Kevin says, walking into traffic here. But the fact that he's here, I am a little not thrilled with. But I hope he's not here. The one I hope takes his spot. I think the one who makes the appearance is Kevin's boy Miller. He will be on
What's his first name?
Bryce.
Okay.
He will be on this team. For those that don't know, that video of the Mariners ordering a bunch of cheeseburgers at In-N-Out, he's the guy, the fourth guy you don't recognize. It was Ty France, JP, Cal, and Miller was the fourth one. So he will be pitching in the majors this season. Now, I would love to say it's a starter. I'm going to say he's a starter. He should be a starter, but I think next year he's fully the starter, and the guy we have at the 5th spot is not starting games for the Mariners next year. Yeah. I think he's going to have Bryce is going to get the first crack at it this year, and then just the onslaught of arms come after that. And I just don't see how Marco shakes out after that. But yeah, I think Bryce Miller is the guy who comes up this year.
JT, who do you think is going to be on the roster by the end of the year that's not on the roster right now?
Shohei Ohtani.
Say, I feel like the layup answer is Evan White. As far as it's not really fun, but I feel like it actually could matter. Picture a world where Evan White is an average hitter contributing just as well as Pollock or whomever you want to choose, and then Ty France is our DH, and Evan White plays exceptional defense at first. That tickles my fancy. And so, I mean, I think that would be an ideal situation in the way that would help. So I would actually, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, actually, that'd be pretty sweet. It wouldn't be as boring as I think. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Evan White.
Glove at first is definitely gold. It is runaway gold.
Kevin, who do you think is going to be on the roster by the end of the season that is not on the roster right now?
Did I take your guy? I'm sorry, Kevin.
No, I mean, it could be Bryce. I mean, it could be, I want to say possibly maybe Emerson, but I think with him being with the injury stuff they happened, I think they hold him back until next year. Um, yeah, I was just gonna say more significantly, I think even though he's kind of out right now, I kind of hope Trammell kind of
Yeah,
solidifies
yeah.
himself. To where you're not having to rely on an AJ Pollock, to where you could have a platoon of Kelnick and Trammell in the outfield. And then just Pollock can go eat a bag of dirt somewhere.
Well, Pollock will be your against lefties guy because the other
Yeah.
two are
Oh,
are
that's right.
lefty
Yeah,
hitters.
Tremolo's
Yeah.
lefty. Yeah.
So you need Pollock to bat against righties,
Yeah,
basically,
that's true.
or
Um,
to bat against lefties. Yeah.
so I like I said, because you need to kind of see what you have in him, so to speak. Other than that, yeah, probably Bryce Miller or Evan White. We know to also continue on GT's topic, we know Evan White can hit bombs. Like that's not an issue. It's just more consistency, less strikeouts, and like more better contact with the bat on a more consistent basis. We know the Gold Gloves there. That's not an issue. So it would be sexy to see Evan White there, especially after the contract he gave him. So, but yeah, I would say, as Sean and JT already mentioned, those two, and then just Trammell solidifying himself as a starter.
Can I have a hot take? I
Let's
think
hear it.
all three of those guys are on the team by the end of the year.
Okay.
I don't think it's
Bold.
that hot. I think it's it's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, especially if Kelnick doesn't pan
I mean,
out.
barring an injury from 1-3, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I have a feeling Bryce will come up because of an injury.
Yeah, no,
Most
and that's what I'm saying.
likely.
But like barring, like Evan White explodes again or something like that, like
Mhm.
they're all three are healthy. All three will be on the team.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about expectations. We've talked a little bit before the pod about some of the overreactions that are happening with the Mariners currently sitting at 1-4. So throughout the next calendar year, Seattle hosts the All-Star game in July. Then T-Mobile Park hosts the Winter Classic in January. Last year, the Mariners broke the playoff drought. So I want to ask you guys, how much pressure is on the Mariners to perform well this year? And JT, I'm gonna throw it to you first.
Um, Zero. Good vibes only.
Like it.
I think there's pressure to get back to the playoffs. I think that is now a realistic expectation. It was, attained this last year, and so I think that's the expectation with especially with this pitching staff and got enough offense to do so. Um, the only problem is the couple of AL teams that they fought for wild cards got stronger as well. So it's an arms race, and I always look to starting pitching staff um, first, and then batting lineup second. So I feel like they've got a shot, but I would expect it, and I think there's pressure to do so to meet the expectation of meeting the playoffs is strong.
Sean, what do you think?
I'm not. I mean, it's sort of in this year. I'm not freaking out at all. But um, yeah, largely JT. I think anything other than a playoff run would be kind of disappointing. But again, it's that marker really is arbitrary. And again, we talk about it, it moves year in and year out. I just want the Mariners to make incremental improvements every year. I think their lineup is better than it was last year. Could it have been a lot better pretty easily? Yes, it could have, but like they are a better team than last year who went to the playoffs and won a series. However, I mean, I did say last year like they were a little lucky to beat the Blue Jays. So I want them to take significant steps of like, look, rather than like rely on some luck or something, can we be a real like contender and like really do some damage? And I think if this offense just plays a little bit, doesn't have to score 11 runs every night, but the pitching is going to carry you in the playoffs. Just can you get enough going on? The Astros really shut you down. Can you do enough? That's where I just want to see. This year just comes down to the bats, like the unfortunately the AJ Pollocks and the the other guys. Not the four guys we like, or the five guys, I guess, because I'll include Teoscar in the five that I like. But the bottom half, can the Kelnicks, the JPs, and the other guys do enough to at least make another team nervous, or like I had to pay attention to this at bat. That's what I'm going to look forward to, is those bottom four, whoever they are in a given night.
Kevin, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, after last year, you kind of added on to it. Would it be surprised if they missed? Yes and no, just because the ownership of this team is ignorant is probably the best word I could say. And they should have gone out and actually spent money and do what owners do to go put better people on the out there essentially. But I mean, yeah, they still have enough talent on this roster to make playoffs, so they should be able to make a playoff push, barring some plague of injuries that get crazy. Though, as JT mentioned, the playoff teams last year are still good or even got better. The division's still interesting because Houston's still very good. Texas has kind of shown a little. I mean, it's still super early, so I'm not going to say. But I mean, their offense kind of did show up on some games, which kind of surprised me against the the World Series Phillies. I think they had one game that was like 14-3, which was kind of nutty. The Athletics are just honestly us four, and then like a couple other random dudes could probably beat the Athletics at this point. To be honest, it's not really that fair. And
I would need to get a new glove first, Kevin.
No, you probably don't need a glove. They're not
the Angels will really just depend on health, like it always kind of does, to be honest, because they just get hurt and they have enough superstar power there to put up a fight. But
literally, like one of their superstars is not playing because he got in a fight.
Yeah.
With a fan. So
probably shouldn't do that, but
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, should they get back to the playoffs? Yes. Should they have a decent playoff run? Probably, yeah. I mean, am I expecting them to win the World Series? No, just because there's just too many other teams that have ownership that actually want to win, and will spend money to do so. Now, does that mean spending money on players gets you wins? No, just look at the Dodgers last year. It helps.
Well, did the Dodgers win like 105 games last year?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it helps, but it doesn't guarantee. Teams get crazy.
Three game series is a crapshoot. Like it's just
exactly.
They weren't lucky. Like it's fine.
It definitely helps you get there, and then the teams have to do it themselves. Yeah, it's just, a 3-game series can do so much. So it definitely helps, though. I'm not saying that it's not. It pretty much guarantees a playoff spot. It just doesn't get you a championship ring. No.
I mean, a better example was Texas last year. They spent a lot of money and didn't do anything.
And didn't do shit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So just because there's a lot of missing holes. But I mean, Dodgers all around, like every position was like stacked to shit. But when you have ownerships that do that, yeah, you have better chances of pushing further in the playoffs than a team like the Mariners that just kind of does the bare minimum and just hopes and relies that they hit in the draft. So.
Well, I think there is a lot of pressure on them this year, and I think it's not only from the outside, but I think it is also from the inside as well, because if you look at Scott Survey's handy dandy checklist on this whiteboard that he has here, he has win AL pennant. There's no checkbox on there yet. There's also a World Series down there, and that box hasn't been checked yet. So it feels like the Mariners have embraced the ending of the drought, the 90 wins, bring postseason back to Seattle. So it really seems like internally their expectations are very high, and I'm very happy about that after the last 20 so years. So that's great. But high expectations mean if you don't live up to them, then it's going to create a lot of dysfunction down the road. So I think there is a lot of high expectations, but I think they can ultimately live up to those. So we'll just kind of see how the season plays out. But let's talk about individual players now. And ESPN released a list of the 100 best MLB players. I'm just going to go down the top 10 first, and I'll tell you the Mariners who are in it as well. Number 1 is Shohei Ohtani. Number 2 is Mike Trout. Number 3 is Aaron Judge. Number 4 is Manny Machado. Number 5 is Freddie Freeman. Number 6 is Juan Soto. Number 7 is Julio Rodriguez. Number 8 is Trey Turner. Number 9 is Mookie Betts. And number 10 is Nolan Arenado. Other Mariners on the top 100 list are Luis Castillo at 37, George Kirby at 91, Logan Gilbert at 98, and Teoscar Hernandez at 99. So, Kevin,
is this for like the best players in baseball, or like they're gonna have the
the
best
best
year?
players in baseball.
It's just interesting that like he's like higher than like Bryce Harper and like Jose Ramirez, like players like that. Like like I'm just like,
Well, Kevin, what do you think of Julio's ranking? And top 10? Like, are there Mariners you want to bring into the top 100?
Wait, who else was in the top 100?
Luis Castillo,
Okay, yeah.
George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, and Teoscar Hernandez.
God. Okay. Do I put Julio in the top 10 as of now? No. Can he get there? Yes. He has the potential to get there. Putting him over guys like Sean mentioned, like that, like Trey Turner below him, like that's just a slap in the face to Trey Turner. Like, good Lord. And then who was below Trey? At
It
10?
was Mookie Betts. Yeah, Trey's at
Yeah.
8, Mookie, and then Nolan Arenado.
What? So, I mean, like I said, I love me some Julio. I mean, like I said, it's got to be like Mookie Betts and Trey Turner have showed this on a consistent basis for years that they are the elite of the elite. Versus Julio just showed it for one season. Now, was it a spectacular season? Yes, sure. But I feel like I need to see it more on a consistent basis and a little bit, just a smidge tiny more out of Mr. Julio before I would place him in the top 10. Luis Castillo, I do put in the top 100. I think he's filthy nasty. Teoscar, oh God, that's tough. If I were, it'd probably be like in the lower part of the hundreds. Logan Gilbert and Kirby, I think could be, Kirby's is another kind of like Julio, like the sample size is just a little too small at the moment to really say. So do I think he can get there? Oh, hell yeah. Like he's got filthy, nasty things. If he showed what he did last season, continues that, I agree that he probably is a top 100 player. Logan Gilbert, I think, God, there's just a lot of really good pitching out there, plus hitting. So it's like, as a Mariner fan, I'm kind of biased. Do I think he's probably in the top 100? Probably no, maybe top 200. He's very good though. I mean, it doesn't mean that he's not great. He's a really good pitcher, and I think he can get there. But there's just so much super top talent out there that it's like, if I were to, I'd put him in like between the 70 and 100 range. Kind of in the field there. I don't know where they put him on there, but Luis Castillo, I agree. I think Julio last year definitely deserves to be in the top 100 for like what he did. Don't get me wrong, but top 10 is probably a little too high for me. Just kind of slaps the elite like Trey and Mookie in the Bryce Harpers in the face, like that have proved it on a consistent basis. So, I mean, look at the Mackenzie Gore thing. Like everybody was like, "Oh, Mackenzie Gore," and then like, I mean, now Mackenzie Gore could still be pretty good, and he had a good outing on his first thing, but like, it's slow it until you see consistency. Like, I'm not going to put Mackenzie Gore above like a dude like Scherzer or like, DeGrom or something like that, just because like the hype of the prospect, or they had like a good season like one year, or like another, or like would I put Shane from Tampa Bay, who had a really good year last year, ahead of a consistent pitcher? That's kind of the difference of like, do you put 1 year's work over consistent people like Luis, or people like like DeGrom, even though DeGrom was hurt last year, but who can do it on a consistent basis and do 1 year for versus what Shane McCallahan did for one season. So I'll pass it off.
JT, is Julio a top 10 player, and who was disrespected to not be in the top 100, and why is it Jared Kelly?
I want to clarify, is it 2023 season or is it just talent if we give
2023
everyone the
season.
same amount of playing time?
I'll have I'll have a qualification.
To create our annual MLB list of top 100 players in the sport, we presented a panel of ESPN baseball experts pairing upon pairings of the biggest names in the game and asked one simple question: which player will be better in 2023?
In 2023. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I
It
think
is 1 year then. It's
Julio,
not. Okay.
yeah, I think Julio would be somewhere in the teens. I feel like seventh might be a little bit too high. Um I he's talented. I mean, be excited. It's all legit. He's young. It's just
Mhm.
I think to have a great season, you have to have a great team around you. You can't just, do it on your own unless,
Unless you're
you're
Luis Castillo.
shooting steroids. Yeah. So it's tough for me to see like Trey Turner and Arenado and J Ram and Ronald Acuna
I can't believe
Jr.
Jose Ramirez continues to be disrespected like
Yeah,
this
that's
every
so
single
nuts.
season.
He's literally a top 5 player.
I
Like
I think I think Julio somewhere in the teens would be more appropriate. Castillo I could see in like the late 20s, early 30s, so it's not too far off. Kirby and Gilbert, um, within the 100, I think is fine. I think Teoscar got slighted. I think Teoscar deserves to be late 70s,
Yep.
maybe early 80s or something. I'm looking at some names around here, and I'm just like, no, I'd take Teoscar, and I do that before he got traded to the Mariners. So, like Matt Chapman, 82. Um, I no
Disgusting.
no thanks. He
Like,
plays great defense, but like that's it. And you got to be a well-rounded player. So it's not like Teoscar, you know, is yeah. It's fairly subjective, obviously. I mean, when the later you go, it's just the kind of like it's tough to weigh a pitcher versus the hitter. So I would say Tasker got the most slighted, but I think overall, I think those are the players to be in the top 100. I don't think anyone missed the top 100 that like should have been in there. I think overall it's fairly accurate for what we're looking at for 2023.
You guys are being real JT Real Mutos right now, and I'll show the clip just so everybody knows what I'm talking about. But Sean, save me
the
the
shaking my head.
disrespect of having to throw you out of this game for this amount of disrespect that we're seeing for Julio. But Sean, what do you think of Julio's ranking and who should be in the top 100?
JT is correct. It's just
JT Real
it's
Muto? Yes, he is
no,
correct.
no.
Go ahead.
It's just like when you're. I mean, the guys we're talking about have won MVPs. Like it's just like it's not. And to Kevin and JT's point is this: if a year in and year out, you're going to tell me, and we're just banking on 1 year. If I'm gonna bet my house of who's gonna have a better year, it's gonna be Jose Ramirez right now because Julio's only done it for 1 year, and even in his best year, Jose Ramirez was still better.
Yeah.
Like I'm just that's more of a Jose Ramirez. I'm just like a big Jose Ramirez proponent. Like Matt Chapman, like JT made me mad with that one. Like that one just made me mad. like I just JT knows how I feel about him. I just not like fine player, but just not. He's not a top 100. Like Juan Soto is like lower than that. Like how is Juan Soto not there? Things like that. Like, I will totally agree with JT. And actually, it's funny you say that, JT, because Teoscar is about the 70th, 73rd ish best player according to last year in baseball. So he is a top 100 player. Probably should be a little higher than he is right now. I don't get the list in terms of like if they're doing it based on 1 year and it is not the most valuable players, it is just the best players. Like Munoz needs to be on this list because he is one of the best at what he does, like talent wise. But what he is, what a relief pitcher, he is one of the best. Like has some of the best stuff, but this list is really the most valuable players, not the best players. So it's like the MVP award in football. It's always gonna be a quarterback because they're always the most valuable. But that's not because the third best quarterback's like the third best player. When Aaron Donald's really like the second best player in football, but he's never gonna win MVP because he doesn't play the right position. So it's like how did Sandy Alcantara or Verlander not get like top 10 consideration just based off what they are and who they've been? And so I view this as just like it's an MVP caliber thing. And if that is the case, Julio might be around seventh. didn't he finish 7th or get some votes last year in the MVP race? Come and quote me on that. I think he finished
I do not
around.
I think he got one. Did he get one vote?
I thought he got like MVP votes. I thought he got like some votes.
Felt like he
Yeah,
got like one or
yeah.
two.
Julio got one vote. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh gosh, if it doesn't organize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He got 7th. He got 7th in MVP last year. No, he got way more than that. He got 108 points for MVP. So he finished 7th in MVP voting. So I if it's MVP, that makes more sense. Best players, I think there's a lot of very good players in baseball. Like, let's put it that way. Andres Jimenez finished above him. What happened? Timeout. Sorry. anyways, like that threw me for a loop there. But yeah, that's MVP. Yes, that is where Julio belongs. Best player, that's arguable because but Julio is like still just out of he can now just drink. So like to say he's not the 7th best player in baseball is probably not a slight on him because he's still like developing as a human being. So the sky is the limit. Maybe in 3 years, ask me this question, probably be higher than 7th. But right now, yeah, 7's a little high.
Well, on this list, the season prediction for Julio is it's hard to predict an MVP award in a league with Ohtani, but let's go with Rodriguez hitting 35 plus home runs and finishing in the top 3 while leading the Mariners to, surprise, a division title. So what a segue into our own
I don't
predictions
care about
here.
the winning the title. That's not what makes you the best player. Like
Segue, you ruined it, Sean, into
I'm
our
sorry.
predictions now. Let's just kind of I threw out I believe what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories for you guys to let me know who will be leading the Mariners in certain categories. I'm just gonna go first here. So in WAR, no, that is not what is it good for. It's wins above replacement. If you do not know, so I went with Julio. I felt like that was a pretty obvious
Which
one
war
right
are we
there.
going with? B or F?
I don't know what that
I'm
means.
just messing. It doesn't matter. It's Julio.
Okay. And home runs, I'm going with Ty France. I think Ty France is going to lead the team in home runs. Runs, I think it's going to be Julio just because he bats lead off and he's probably going to get on base the most. Hits, I think Teoscar Hernandez is going to lead the team in hits on that one. Starting pitching ERA and relief pitching ERA, I'm going with both Castillos. I'm going with Luis Castillo for starting pitcher and Diego Castillo for relief pitcher and leading ERA. So, Kevin, what are your predictions for who will be leading the Mariners in those categories?
In WAR, probably Julio. You said most home runs was next?
Yes.
Probably Gino or Teoscar.
You got to pick one.
Probably Gino. I think he probably has another 30-year. Teoscar wouldn't be far behind, to be honest. I think Teoscar will probably get between 25 and 30. Honestly, he could get more to be. He already has 2, so. What was the next one?
Runs?
Runs. Julio. Probably.
Hits?
Hits. Probably Ty. I'd say Ty France, yeah.
Starting pitching ERA?
Luis.
Relief pitching ERA?
Munoz.
And I know you guys love the advanced stats. WHIP.
It's not advanced. Sorry.
I was like, what?
That was
Whip
funny.
is that?
Advanced.
We're so advanced.
That's from
Yeah.
like the 80s, Matthew. That ain't advanced
whip.
at all.
Oh, let's
Whip
go
it good.
crazy. We'll say brash.
I
Okay.
appreciate it. I appreciate you trying though, Matthew.
Thank you. JT, who do you got leading the Mariners?
All right, so WAR, it's Julio. I mean, come on, guys, he's a top 10 player in
Either.
ESPN
Facts.
baseball.
Facts.
But yeah, he's the WAR king of the Mariners. Home runs, I'm gonna go with Teoscar. Runs, Julio has the runs. Hits, going with Ty France. And Luis Castillo, starting pitching ERA. Relief pitching ERA, like it Kevin said Munoz. I mean, I'll pick Seawald. I mean, it's like I don't think Brash is going to be there, but he's just I think he's going to have a little bit ups and downs, but it's going to be like a highlight reel. So he'd be like my dark horse if he can really put it together first full season. Did we throw in Whip as a
Yeah,
fun wild card?
give me your whip leader.
For I'll probably just think of starting pitching for Whip. Well, obviously it'd be Castillo. I feel like Gilbert could do it. I feel like Gilbert is gonna challenge you and he's gonna give up a ton of solo home runs. Whereas like Kirby lives in the zone and sometimes he has to be too fine. And we know he's a beast when it comes to walk rates, but
He
I
is
feel
fine.
like he'll give up a few too many just random hits and stuff. And when we're talking about whip and you gotta whip it real good, it's
you do.
walks and hits. So yeah, but it's probably gonna be Castillo. He's a dark horse Cy Young. He's an underrated SP1. It's just he's reincarnation, 12 years later of Felix. It's like he's a Mariner. It's awesome to see the contract he got, and I'm excited to have him on the team.
Yeah, I saw on our fantasy baseball stats whip, and I was like, I don't know what that is. So now I know what it is. So Sean, give me
Whip
your
was
Mariners leaders.
Whip was actually made up for fantasy baseball. There you go. Yeah, in the 80s.
Nerd's got something
There
right.
you go. There you go.
Actually, 1979 according to Wikipedia. But go ahead.
What? Yeah, it was. I know who made it up. There's actually a story about it. I'll share it with you. But Julio. So my offense is just ditto JT. Let me say it again. Julio, Teoscar, Julio, Ty France. I'll throw in stolen bases. It's also Julio. Boring. SP.
Did you see Ty France's wheels?
I did. He stole third too. Like he didn't steal second. He stole third, and I'm like, oh my god, Ty France, what are you doing? He's a madman out there. SP, everything is Luis Castillo. To JT's point, it was fun to watch last year when the Mariners traded for Luis Castillo, and ESPN was like, oh my gosh, the first big move, Luis Castillo, and then all the Mariners fans were like, yeah, and you could tell they had no clue who he was. And so Matthew, you're playing fantasy baseball now. Everyone in fantasy baseball. It was funny. Like everyone online was like, "Yay!" Sort of. And then everybody that I play fantasy baseball was like, "Holy shit, the Mariners got Luis Castillo!" like it was just like it was very clear to the nation. Like that guy's really good at baseball, and the Mariners fans are about to figure it out. Like and just playing in Cincinnati versus Seattle, I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, it's everything Luis Castillo starting pitcher." Relief pitcher ERA, like to what JT was kind of getting at too. A lot of it's just luck too, because when you're a relief pitcher, your manager can just pick who you're batting against. Like if I really wanted to, I could just make sure that every time I play the Astros, this one pitcher is going to face Yordan Alvarez, and that guy's probably going to have a higher ERA than a guy who's not facing Yordan Alvarez, who I make not face Yordan Alvarez. So that doesn't mean that he's like the best pitcher. It's really a lot of like who you're protecting versus not. Because I can have like Paul Sewell face Maldonado, and I can have Munoz face Yordan Alvarez 40 times, and I think Yordan Alvarez is going to get Munoz a couple times. I'm safe to bet I don't think Maldonado is going to get anybody a couple times this year. Maybe the Mariners. Maybe the Mariners. That's how it works. The nobody's always hit the Mariners. But with that, I just play talent, and I just go Munoz. Just that's the safe bet. With that, usually whip and all that stuff usually goes hand in hand with ERA. If you're not getting people on base, you're not usually getting a lot of runs. But just to be different, so my real answer is Munoz and Castillo, but I'll be a little different just to make that one a little bit more spicy. I'll say Brash for whip for some reason. I don't know why. Just I think he figures out the zone a little bit. And then because I think Paul Sewell could just get a little too wild sometimes. So
and he
Brash.
Just gave up 2 runs tonight.
Yeah, so can Brash, obviously. Well, it's a whip thing, anyways. But yeah, Paul, when he loses it, and it's just like okay. And like I'll agree with JT to an extent, but I'll say Kirby for whip. The other guy, I'll be like, well, maybe Kirby.
Can we do RBI real
Dark
quick?
Horse Miller coming up and just throwing gas.
For ribbies?
No, Miller just throwing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think ribbies could be different
Ribbies.
answers between all of us.
Yeah. Ribbies. I say Teoscar because I think he's gonna bat behind France and Julio for the year. I think he's just gonna have more opportunity. I'll say Teoscar, but could be Gino pretty easily.
I think Viva la France.
I would say Gino still probably just
Could be Gino.
because. I mean, if he's batting 5th or 6th, like it just gives you really good.
I think he's batting
availability.
4th. The one I'm surprised no one said was Cal Raleigh for dingers because he's a dumper.
True.
And dumpers hit dumps.
It's true.
The dump like a
He
truck.
missed a home run by like feet today too, so it was
Dumps
like
like a
going
truck.
foul.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go back around. Sean, we're going to start with you. The amount of wins for the Mariners, they're finishing the AL West, and do they make the playoffs?
This is the one that counts, so you're putting me on the spot. I say they do make the playoffs. They are a wild card. I say they finish second. The Angels are the Mets. Until they do it, I can't bank on them. I could see both why they would both do good, Mets and the Angels, but until they do it, I can't bank on them ever doing it.
You said Mets?
Yeah, the Mets are the same as the Angels. Like when everyone's like, the Mets are going to win the World Series, like, no, you never go to the Mets.
I thought you were talking like saying the Mets were in the AL. Sorry.
No.
That's why I was like,
the Mets and the Angels are the same. Like the Angels could be good. I'm like, until they are and they're healthy, I can't bet on the Angels. So like with the Mets,
okay, I see what you're
until
saying.
they do it, I can't bet on the Mets. Like, yeah. I don't think Texas has enough there. They had like their best outcomes and they went 3-2. So I'm just like, that's the best they're gonna do, and it's just I don't think it's gonna be enough. Like in the whole. And so Houston is still a juggernaut, so they finish it. I say the Mariners with a more balanced schedule too. They don't have to play the AL West a ton, which sucks for Angels, but it does help that they don't have to play Texas, or it sucks that they don't get to play Oakland a bunch. But
yeah,
playing the Central more helps.
Yeah.
I think they won 90 games last year, right?
90 the last 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, I think they win. To not be boring, 91. Like once you get to the 90s, it's really hard to take a couple jumps more than 90. So 91, 92, 90. Sorry, like those are the 91. I'll split it right. Boom, right. 91.
Okay, JT, what do you think?
Mariners wins, and where they finish?
Yep.
Mariners wins 87.
Ooh. Okay.
Where they finished third.
Behind
the Astros and the Angels.
You think the Angels stay healthy?
Yeah, why not? I think they have better depth in terms of hitting. I don't know about their defense overall, but defense doesn't win championships. Starting pitching does.
They just don't have the four of us running around out there with Trout no time. It really helps.
Yeah. So I feel like the Mariners' weakness is their lineup. I feel like they have a better rotation, but it could. I feel like they're gonna make the playoffs, but to me, it's gonna be the third wild card, and it might be a nail biter near the end. There's, to my count, there's 10 AL teams vying for 7 wild card spots that I see, and so it's like I said, it's an arms race, and it's all the other teams got a little bit better around them. So hey, this is what you get. Expectations. So that's what I'm seeing.
Kevin, what do you got?
I'll say 89, and they finish.
Kevin just split us down the middle, JT. Did you see that? He just played politically. He just was like right in between you two.
Going price us right on this. But technically, I should be going one more.
Yeah, you should have just done a one above JT then. Yeah, if you wanted that, you screwed that
up. Let's go probably second. Yeah, it's because you have a lot of the AL West kind of. It's weird because the AL West, like we mentioned last year, is going to be taking stuff away from each other, but not nearly as much since the schedule is different. But I mean, they're still going to take away games from each other, essentially. So I think Houston takes the division, and I would say number one wild card would probably be Toronto. Yeah, just because I don't really see anybody. Maybe Tampa Bay, maybe, but
They're the only last undefeated team in baseball. They just keep
I
winning.
know.
The witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, like, could be Tampa. One of the two. It'll be an AL. What? It'll be an AL East team. Most likely have one.
So those effing nerds in Tampa Bay, man.
Yeah. I mean, Baltimore kind of trying to put up a fight a little bit. You never know. Like, I love how Adam
I think
Frazier
they brought a
already has two
grenade to
home
the.
runs on the year.
I think they bought a grenade to the gunfight. Baltimore, they could do something, but it's gonna be explosive. Like
I love how Adam Frazier does diddly crap all season, and he already has two home runs this year.
you know, it's the Mariners
But I
curse,
mean,
man.
Baltimore's field is also a lot shorter though too. So I'll say it's that.
They also played Texas, who can't pitch, so there's that.
That's you.
Yeah, beat up on Texas a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm pretty similar to the rest of the group. I have the Mariners making the playoffs, finishing second behind the Astros, and I think they are slightly better than last year. So I'm going with 92. I think they get 2 more wins than they have the previous 2 years. I think they get to 92, and now we'll make our World Series predictions. So the NL was pretty easy for me. I really like the Padres, and they're going to be my World Series champion. And in terms of who they play, I looked at like the AL, and there wasn't a team that really like stood out to me.
It's weird.
So I went with the Tampa Bay Rays to play the San Diego Padres in the World Series. And I think the Padres win, and well, I'm going to throw it out there in April. 6 games. 6 games. Kevin, what do you think?
All right. Well, I have a feeling we're looking at we're gonna see the Tigers and the Reds in the World Series.
Midwest Championship, let's go.
Yeah. Or maybe Pirates. Pirates, I mean, O'Neal Cruz, man, he's looking good.
Just hit dingers.
No. Stuff. It's Jeff. Just a lot of good teams. I want to say the Mets, but like I said, it doesn't always win. I'm gonna go crazy on y'all. I'm gonna say the Brewers from the
Okay. Okay.
I mean, they have
That is
they have
crazy.
a
I
little talent on that
respect it, though.
team. I'll say the Brewers. AL. There's just a lot. God, it's probably sadly, it's probably Houston again. If it's not Houston, I'd probably say Guardians actually. Like once Tristan McKenzie gets hurt or healthy, you know, and if the rest of that team stays healthy with Class A and then that Jay Ramirez guy who apparently is not a top 10 player. Yeah.
Don't forget about Mike Zunino.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Though I mean defensively,
X factor.
like I mean, he helps lower your starting rotation's ERA because he's a good defensive catcher and he can frame it really well. So to a point, Matthew, you are correct. He's going to help lower your ERA for your starting pitching and your bullpen guys. So yeah, if not Houston, I would say Cleveland. And then who takes it? Oh man. Just to be unoriginal, I have a feeling Houston will take it, but I'll be ballsy. I'll say Milwaukee takes it.
Brewtown, going crazy. Big party, big brewery party. JT, who you got in your World Series prediction?
Oh, well, the AL's the easy one. It's obviously going to be Toronto Blue Jays. the World Series. The NL's a little bit spicier, but I'm going to go with the Padres. And then to win it all, that's the tougher one. And I'm going to say Toronto in 7.
All right. Sean, who you got?
AL is between the 3 teams. Only one has been mentioned. Or I guess 2 have been mentioned so far. No one said the Yankees, but the Yankees have a shot at. Toronto's a shot at. But like Kevin said, I'm surprised that Matthew said, was in clear favorite. The Kansas City Chiefs of baseball, the Houston Astros, just seem to go every year, and yeah, they really didn't get worse that much. So they lost Verlander, but they have guys they just replace. Like it's just now they let their 4 young guys pitch a bunch of games instead of an old guy pitch some games. So um, I'm like, okay, Houston will be fine. They're gonna keep hitting like they always do. They got Jordan Alvarez, who's terrifying and hits balls only 460 feet. His 2 home runs. I don't know if you guys saw replays of them. They're not cheap. Like let's put it that way. They're double deckers. Like I don't know if that man hits balls that aren't 460 feet. So yeah, them. And I'm gonna say a team that was not mentioned, but I feel like should be the Atlanta Braves. I'm gonna say the Atlanta Braves.
Really good.
Atlanta Braves are very good. They're put together. They're a super well constructed team. They have a super thick catcher now. He's very thick, juicy. Some would say, and I say
like a dump. Does he dump like a truck?
If Mariners and Atlanta played, it'd be a dumper World Series. Like, let's just be honest. That would be super bass. Nicki Minaj would have to sing it every game. Like
no treble. It's just all about the bass.
All about the bass, super bass. Megan Trainor could be there. Minaj can sing her Anaconda song. Whatever it is. Her Mix-a-Lot could show up. It's all about the dump trucks. If that was the case. I'm really regretting not picking the Mariners and the Atlanta Braves just for the vibes, but I'll say Houston, Atlanta. My brain tells me it's Houston, but I'm going to say F it and go Atlanta.
All right. Well, let us know about your World Series predictions, how you think the Mariners are going to do this year, what you thought of the Mariners opening day roster. Go ahead and tweet us. I'm at _Matt. Sean is Sean Beatty. Kev is at SEA to believe. That is C to believe. JT is at JT_the ginger. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like our videos, dislike our videos. Tell us what you think in the comments below. We can officially report at the end of this podcast that the Mariners have won 11-2, and I'm a photographer, so I like to highlight some good photography here. Lindsay Wason of AP Images with this nice, well done photo of the still of the ice bath right after the game. So well done to Lindsay there.
They got good.
Yeah, they really did. Really did.
I can't even tell it's him.
Yeah, I was like, Kevin, how do you know it's even Teoscar? But
I just from
also on the
a little I
so
can see
helps.
in the fact that he did hit 2 home runs, and it's just
you're probably right, but yeah.
I mean, are you gonna really? I mean, they both hit 2 home runs. Who are you going to celebrate more? AJ Pollock hitting 2 home runs or Teoscar?
It's whoever got the post-game interview, because they're an easy target because they're not going to be paying attention.
They're going to interview Teoscar over AJ Pollock.
Yeah, they are.
All right. Well, that was our MLB preview. Next time, we'll have to talk about some Kraken potentially playoffs, maybe some more Sounders. Prodigal Son has returned to the Seattle Seahawks, but until then, we will see you next time. Oh, wait. Sorry, JT. I know what your hat is, but tell the people who may not have seen your hat what your hat is before we go.
This is the best alternate logo in the biz, minor league baseball. Dust Devils, Tri-City Dust Devils. Alternate logo, it's the Rooster Tails. So it's a rooster driving a hydroplane. Local Tri-Cities, big hydroplane races each year. So, and one thing I forgot to mention with MLB real quick, this is the year of the steals, and the baseball they're using is super bouncy. So keep all of that in mind.
By the way, how is the rooster driving it? He doesn't have thumbs.
Don't ask questions, Sean.
He doesn't even have the helmet on. He just has goggles. That is so many violations.
You're asking way too many questions.
Grip it, and they go like that.
The practicality of the hat, JT, I just don't get it.
All right, with that, we will see you next time on Washington East to West Sports. Bring back our Sonics.